Hey everybody, Jen from Scrapping Under the Influence. I am back with a new project kit for you. We have Carta Little Lullabies Baby Girl and Baby Boy. Both of these are designed as a baby's first year album, so they are chunky. Everything with my kits is included, so you will get all of the cardstock, the pattern paper, the embellishments, the ribbon, the magnets, chipboard, everything you need to complete the project. You just provide adhesive and basic tools, and I actually have a new tool that you're getting as part of this kit, and I'll show you that in just a second. But let's take a quick flip through. And I did something a little bit different with this tutorial. On this tutorial, I did all of the cutting of the cardstock with you and the matting because of the size of this book. And you're getting a ton of cardstock. This was what I had left after matting the girls' album. I have about the same amount left from the little boys. I'm just not sure where my stack is right off the top of my head. So I did do the matting on camera with you so that even if you want to change it up, you're kind of seeing how I cut the paper to make it all work. So I typically try not to get it that tight on paper, but I clearly underestimated on this one what we were actually going to need, but you have enough, it will work. Okay, so it is an 8x8 album with a whopping 4-inch spine. This paper is so cute. I've wanted to do a baby album kit for a while. I just haven't really loved any of the papers I had seen up to this point. And then my friend Lynn asked me if I had seen the Carta baby paper that was coming out. And I took a look and I'm like, this is it. This is perfect. So in the front, and both of these albums are the same. It's just the paper that is different, of course. We've got a double stacked accordion pocket that apparently was glued partway down in there and I didn't realize it. Double stacked accordion pocket, so you've got lots of space to tuck extra pictures or birth announcements or anything else that you would want to tuck in there. And this paper collection had the little month indicator cut aparts. So we are using those on each page. There are 4 page styles total in the entire book. They each repeat 3 times. So it makes it super easy to put together, even with as large as it is. So month 1, we have 5x7 flaps. They go every which way, and then you've got plenty of space here for another big picture or several smaller pictures. As I said, the ribbon is all included in the kit. There is magnets for one of the page styles. Those are also included. So you're not getting a kit and finding out you don't have part of the supplies you need to make the project, because that drives me insane. Okay, next one, we've got a nice big full page flap. Big 5x7 photo spot here. This is the magnetized page. We have got a nice little waterfall in here, and we have got some of the cut aparts. So you see here how we've got these journaling lines. This paper line, for whatever reason, did not come with any journaling cut aparts. None of the cut aparts have any space on them for any kind of journaling. And with a baby album, you're going to want that. So I had actually already been working on this. But this, I'm going to keep the cardstock behind it so you can see it, is my journaling guide tool. So you've got perfectly spaced lines. This will work on a 4x6 cut apart. It'll work on a 3x4 cut apart. And then you've got your little journaling. If you're doing like bullet journaling or you're trying to do a list, you've got 6 different little options to add that little extra indicator to your list. I can't think what it's actually called. So this is coming in your kit. This is actually will also be available separately on the website as well. But if you are ordering this kit, you are getting this tool with it. And I'll show you how we use that in just a second here. Okay. 3 months. We've got a couple of big flaps built onto a pocket. So again, there's another one of my little journaling cards I did. You're getting 2 different packs of chipboards with this, and you are getting an ephemera pack. I was having, and I don't know why it was doing this, and it was literally like on one of the two, when I was popping out the chipboards, the adhesive backing was staying, which I don't end up using that. I always end up gluing them down anyway, so it was fine. But just be aware, and I have emailed Echo Park, so we'll see. But I don't expect that, yeah, see the boy one, this one specifically was really bad. And the other one didn't do it at all, so go figure. Just so you're aware, it is not something I have any control over. Okay, 5x7, insert there, and you flip this up, and you've got stacked flaps there, plus you've got more spot for your photos and cut aparts and all that kind of thing. And that one holds it all together, and then it just repeats again. You can put the page styles themselves in any order you want to in the book. In the tutorial and with the matting, I do it. They're both the same. So again, we've got our nice big 5x7 flaps, and then the ribbon closure. We've got another big full page flap with our 5x7 on the back, and then our little waterfall again, our 6x6 flaps with the pocket, and the chipboards in there. And I did more of this one with the ribbon as opposed to magnets, because if you get this really loaded up with pictures, or you decide to use the chipboard embellishments on the inside, you're not going to have a problem. Okay, so another photo mat, and more of our little flips, and more tuck spots or photo mats and things in there. And then again with our 5x7. This paper is so cute. I don't have any little girls to use with this one, however. I just have a very stinky 13-year-old who is loud. And yeah, but I'm still using. I'm going to actually put his baby pictures in this, I swear. Because I've got them all. They're printed. They just never made it into an album. So again, the big flap. We've got our photo mat. This one I did turn landscape instead of portrait. We've got our waterfall, and then again with our 6x6, or 6x5.5 actually is the finish size on those, and the pocket in the back. And I've just got one mat in there. You'll be able to tuck more pictures back in there if you want. And then again with our photo flips and our mats. And then back here, we've got our second accordion pocket. So that's the little girl. Now let's flip through really quickly the little boys. So again, same paper, just, you know, same layout. We've just got the little boy version. Both are available on the website. And it is and I forgot to mat right there. I knew I missed something last night. It was late. I was trying to get this finished. And then we've got all of our little 5x7s. And then there's our big flap with our waterfall, our 5.5x6, the photo mat with the flips. This one I kept them matching. I'm not quite sure how I managed that, but I did. And then again with our flaps. And the large flap and the waterfall. It's just the sweetest paper. And these, of course, I left loose so you can tuck a picture underneath there. You can use it as a tuck spot. That one I did flat. I think I was supposed to leave that loose on the side, and I didn't, but that's okay. Because this one's actually going to be mine that I'm going to, fingers crossed, actually put some pictures in. You guys are going to have to hold me to it, I'm telling you. Okay, and we've got our flips. And tuck that back in there. And as you can see throughout both of them, we've got our little month cards on here. It is just the sweetest paper. I just love it. Photo mat there, waterfall, and again we've got our 5.5 by 6 and my journaling card that didn't actually make it into the pocket. And again with the flaps and the pockets. And finally, last but not least, of course, another one where I forgot to mat that little strip, but that's okay. I will go through my scraps and mat it in a little bit, but honestly, it's okay even that way. This is also the first project that I have used my new London Fog Luxury Smooth cardstock with. So the little boy, you're getting the gray, the little girls, you're getting the white. I debated if I was going to do white or craft on that, and ultimately decided I wanted to do the white for the little girls. I'll go back through and tie that all in a minute. But there you go. Excuse me. Side by side, little boy, little girl, little Lullabies from Carta. Huge packed album, Baby's First Year, and it is available right now on the website. And the tutorial starts now. Okay, so we're going to do this one a little bit differently than I normally do. We're going to cut pretty much all of the cardstock, and we're going to cut the chipboard together. So first off, with the 2 pieces that are in your kit, you need 2 pieces that are 8 by 8, one that is 8 by 4. So what you're going to do is cut one piece to 8 inches. This is just extra. I'm going to turn it, and we're going to cut 8 inches again. Okay, so there's one cover piece, there's your 4-inch spine, and then this one we'll just do the 8 by 4. So both of these need to be covered entirely on the back with tape. Excuse me. So I'm going to grab my tape roll. Not quite that much. It does work best to do this with tape as opposed to glue because it all goes down nice and smooth. Okay, I'm going to flip that over, turn it around. I'm going to put that one down next to it. I know I've shown this in other videos as far as how I go about covering these with tape. Okay, one. There's the next one. And our little spine piece. This is not a little spine, this is a big book. But because it's a baby's first year, we've got 6 pages in the book. So front will be 1 month, back will be the next month. So on and so forth through the book. So it needed to be on the chunkier side. So I've got just a tiny gap in the middle there. I'm not going to worry about that because ultimately it's not going to matter. Okay, I'm going to move those out of the way for a second. And we're going to go ahead and cut our cardstock to wrap. First up, you need 2 pieces that are going to be 10 by 10. And the main reason that I'm going to cut this with you is to keep your to show you how to keep your scraps organized and how we're going to use the scraps as you move on through the project. okay, for pages and whatnot. Okay, so the next one is going to be 10 by 7. I'm actually going to cut the 7 inches first, and then the 10, because that 5-inch piece will be a good one to get other pieces and parts from. The other thing that we need to cut is our reinforcement piece, and that is going to be 7 7/8 by 8. So I'm going to start at 8. And then do my 7 7/8. And again, I'm just keeping my scrap pieces organized. I'm going to grab my self-healing mat because we do want to cover this one with tape as well. Carefully cut along my edge. And I'm going to grab my 2-inch tape again. Don't use a ton of the 2-inch. I mostly use the 6-inch. This is a handy one to have on hand. And although I would prefer to buy the big rolls of actual Score Tape brand, they cost about twice as much as the rolls from scrapbook.com. The scrapbook.com rolls are just fine, and I've been using them for years. I've never had an issue. Okay, so this reinforcement piece we're going to set aside. So you're going to want your scoreboard and your spacers. So we want our 1-inch top spacer, excuse me, and one of our 10 by 10 sheets. And then you want your 1-inch cover spacer. These are available on my website. They are clear so you can see that everything's lined up, and they are clearly marked so you know which piece goes where for which process. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get the backing off the tape. If you're nervous about getting this down exactly right, as long as you've got enough to wrap around your chipboard, you'll be fine. So if it ends up slightly crooked, the way this all goes together, it's not going to matter. But if you're nervous about doing that, just pull part of the tape off and lay that down, and then pick the whole thing up, let your cardstock fold back, and then you can pull the rest of the tape off, or the backing off, if you're not comfortable doing it all in one shot like that. Okay, so let's grab the second 10 by 10. Still using our 1-inch top spacer and our 1-inch cover spacer. Get our second one down. Okay. All right. So that one down. Okay. Now you're going to do your 10 by 7. You're going to swap out your 1-inch cover spacer for your 1.5-inch spine spacer. Again, if you've got my spacers, it is clearly marked on there which one it is, along with the size. And with the spine, you want the cardstock to be 3 inches wider overall than your spine piece. So this is 4 inches. The cardstock needs to be 7. For your cover, it needs to be 2 inches bigger. So 8 by 8 cover, 10 by 10 cardstock to wrap. Okay, there's that. And we are done with our spacers. Okay, I'm going to move the scoreboard out of the way for now. And my bone cover. And my 1/4-inch tape. Okay. So we are going to fold, using the chipboard to fold the cardstock around and burnish. This will be the first kit that the gray cardstock has gone in. This is my London Fog Luxury Smooth Cardstock. I love it. It has become my new favorite. I've used it on a couple of things. like personally, and then I used it with the Snow Much Fun kit that ended up not being a kit because Doodlebug ran out of the product. So this is the first official kit that this is going into. And it's so soft and so smooth. And it just scores and folds nicely. And I absolutely love it. Okay. Right. And there. Okay. So now we are going to miter. So mitering there. There. Okay. See, he's got those notches taken out, so we're going to fold in the other way and just finish off our corners. I've been doing it this way for a while, and I really do prefer doing it this way. Okay. Hopefully you can't hear my son out there. He's playing online with a friend, and they get on the phone with each other and discuss strategy, and a lot of times there's a whole bunch of yelling involved. So hopefully you can't hear it. If you do, I apologize. I won't figure it out till I go to edit. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on our spine. Right, so now on our spine piece, I'm going to take my 1/4 inch tape, and we are going to go across the bottom on that outside edge, and the top, just now the bottom because I turned it around, but you know what I mean. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the pretty side, and we're going to do it along this outside edge here. There, and then we're going to burnish this cardstock down along the edge of the chipboard. See how that's more defined? So right there, like it's there but not as defined. Okay? Alright. On both of these, you're going to do the tape all around all 4 sides on that outside edge. This step is of course optional. When you go to wrap it, you can just glue it and not worry about this. I like having this because I do have some arthritis and some grip issues, and this just means I don't have to spend as much time putting a lot of pressure on it to burnish it down, because the tape will grab it immediately, and I don't have to keep going over and over and over until it starts to dry and set up, because that does wear my hands out really fast doing it that way. This way, I don't have that problem. Okay, and here. All right, so we're going to start with our cover pieces because they're right here. I'm going to go ahead and take the backing off of my tape on all 4 sides. All right, I'm going to grab my glue, and we are going to go along the edge of the chipboard, and then up in the middle. And I can tell you right now by looking at it that it's going to be too much glue, but it's okay. All right. I'm going to push up against the edge of the chipboard, fold it over, and burnish it down. See, I told you it was way too much glue. I'm just going to wipe that up. Ultimately it'll be fine, but just so I don't have that start to dry before I get to those sides. I like to do opposite sides. To me, I just think it looks nicer. Not that it's going to matter. It's going to get matted over. You're not going to be able to tell. But just in case you can kind of tell, I just think you get a better result doing it this way. Okay. And over and down. There's one cover. Do the exact same thing to this one. Oh, helps when you actually, have your tape burnished down. Okay. And the little tool I'm using there is a vinyl weeding pen, just off Amazon. Okay. It works really well. The little Tim Holtz retractable pokey tool works too. This was just what I happened to grab today. Okay. Over and down. Now we'll go to our last side. All right. Now, for our spine, we are going to wrap just the top and the bottom. So I'm going to get the backing off of those. Same process. Push up, fold over, burnish it down. Burnish up, over and down. Okay. Go ahead and wipe that off. Alright, so we're going to turn this over. You're going to grab one of your cover pieces. Get your backing off of there. Now, you do not want glue to go all the way up to the spine edge, okay? So we're going to go just below that. I'm sorry, chipboard edge, not spine edge. You know what I meant. Okay, glue. You're going to lay this on top like so, holding it up. You're going to guide with your finger up here because you can feel if it's lined up. You can see down here that it's lined up. You're just going to pull that over until you feel it slide off of your cover or your spine, and then drop it down. Okay? Do the exact same thing on the other side. This time I'm going to do my glue with this laying flat. Okay. The reason I like the tape and the glue method on this step specifically is because that tape is going to grab this immediately. So as I'm burnishing it down, I don't have to worry that it's going to slide out of skew. Okay. Turn it over and burnish that down. Okay, now we're going to take our fun little 8 by 7 7/8, and this way I'm turning it wrong side up to start, so I figure out which side is actually the side that goes which, because it's an 1/8 of an inch difference otherwise from being a perfect square. So this should be my 7 7/8. It is. Okay. So again, if you are not comfortable getting all of your tape backing off, just do part of it and get this lined up and put down. I'm just going to do the whole thing. Because if you are using tape and you have undo and it doesn't go down quite right, you can use undo to pick it up and reposition it. Okay, so I'm just centering that top to bottom, side to side, and burnishing that down. Okay, and we are going to bend up, burnish into that crease. The other side, bend up, burnish into the crease. And this is a little bit harder, but I do, because of the width, but I do like to close it and then pinch it. Okay, so there is our cover. Okay, so we're going to do the page faces and the hinge. But before we do that, we need to get our matting ready for the inside cover and underneath hinge. So out of your paper pack, the very first sheet should be two, because you have two of each pattern. You should have two of this sheet. Pull one of these out and set it aside, because this is a baby's first year album. We are going to use these pieces specifically on each page, the front of each page in the book, okay? So pull that one out and set it aside. And then I'm going to use one of the solids to mat all the way across here. So you'll need two of the same solids. I just need to figure out which one I want to use. And I went with the gray too, because the blue in this has a very gray tone to it, which I absolutely love. Clearly I didn't remember that when I painted my nails, because I would have gone closer to this color. But that's okay. I think we are going to do the green. So I'm going to set the rest of this aside. I'm going to take one of these and cut a piece for this center that is 7 7/8 by 3 7/8. Okay, so this over. I'm going to cut this to 7 7/8 high. And I'm going to cut it to 3 7/8. Actually, I'm going to go just a hair over. And then this piece I'm going to cut to 7 7/8, because this will eventually go on the front or back inside cover. And then I'm going to cut this one to 7 7/8 by 7 7/8. So I have both of these ready to go. Okay. This, I'm just going to start a separate scrap pile for any pattern paper scraps for now. I'm going to set these two to the side. We don't want to put these in yet, because I literally, when I did the girls version, I wasn't thinking, and I went ahead and I matted, and then went, oh, well, this piece needs to go under that matting. So on this side I was okay. I got it up enough to slide that in, it was okay. And then too, with the ribbon for both ends, this other side did not come out as well, but that's okay. So because the overall layout of the book is identical between the boys' paper versus the girls' paper, if there's things we need to refer back to as far as how I'm matting or why we're doing something a certain way, we do have this for reference. So like when we do our elements on our pages, this page style right here, we do need our matting cut and ready to go first before we actually put the pocket and the flaps on that page. So there are, which you would have seen this on the walkthrough, but we'll quickly go over it again. There are 4 page styles, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they repeat. So you'll do each page style 3 times for a total of 12 pages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and then you've got your little month indicators on each page front, and then, you know, like this opens up and there's a belly band and a waterfall. You know, this one's got a pocket back here and then flaps. You know, this of course has a nice big photo mat and then some more flaps and more pockets and photo and journaling spots. So that's kind of how this is all going to end up going together. And the way that those pages are set up, or the page elements are set up, you can put them in any order you want. You do not have to put them in the same order that I'm putting them in. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this in the center just to give it time to dry before we go and put our hinge on top of it. There's the big one, there's the big one. Okay, so that's on there. I'm going to move that off to the side. First piece we're going to cut is going to be our hinge. Our hinge is going to be 7 3/4. So I'm going to 7 3/4, and then I'm going to pull it back just a hair, so it's just slightly under. Okay, that's just so it doesn't stick out the top of your page base. Okay, add that to your scrap pile, and then it's going to be 9 1/8 wide because it is going to have 5/8 inch gussets between the pages. Okay, add that to your scrap pile. All right. Page bases, you need 6 pieces that are 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So I'm going to cut them 3 at a time. So 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And again. 1/4, 8 1/4, and then you need 6 pieces that are 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. So again, I'm going to do them 3 at a time because I am using the big trimmer. So 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. Seven 3/4 by 7 3/4. Add all of those to your scrap pile. We will use these later. Okay. All right. So we're gonna move that out of the way. We're gonna grab the scoreboard and our scoring tool wherever it has disappeared to. Okay. So the 7 3/4 inch pieces don't need any scoring. You can set those aside. The rest of these, you're going to score at 1/2 inch. Turn it a 1/4 turn, and 1/2 inch again. You're going to do that on all 6 pieces. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and score our hinge. So, with the 9 1/8 at the top, you are going to score 1/2 inch. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. Okay, so 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 5/8. So tick mark between 1/2 and 3/4. Okay, 2 1/8. So 1 tick past the 2. 2 5/8. 3 1/4. 3 1/4. 3 3/4. 4 1/4. 4 7/8, 5 3/8, 5 7/8, 6 1/2, 7, 7 1/2, 8 1/8, 8 5/8. Okay. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to turn this over. I am going to grab a pencil and we are going to go start marking this to fold. If I'm just doing this on my own without a tutorial, I don't always mark this. Where this one is as large as it is, you definitely want to do it this way so that you don't attach the wrong pieces together. So starting on this end, you're going to go X, X, skip, 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 X, X. Okay? Now, you're going to turn it sideways. We're going to start in one of the two middle sections. And you're going to fold two X's together. Okay? You're going to fold it over. You're going to make sure you are lined up on your outside edges, that nothing is hanging over one side or the other. You are then going to burnish from the middle out. So out, out. Okay? If you burnish from one end to the other, that is how you push your score lines out of whack and how you end up with crooked score lines and uneven hinges and uneven pages. Okay? So we're going to then fold back at that next score line. Okay, so we still don't, our X's are still touching. You're going to go from the middle out, middle out. Turn it over, grab that tab, fold it back towards yourself, and again, middle out, middle out. Okay? Turn it over, kind of pull that back out. It'll fold right back where it needs to when we're ready. You're going to go to the next one over. So you've got 2 on this side unfolded, you've got 3 on this side. So I'm going to turn it around, and we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to start there. Before you start burnishing, make sure you're nice and straight on side to side. Okay? Middle out, fold it back, middle out, turn it over, grab the tab, fold it back, and again, middle out. Okay? There you go. Turn it over, go to your next hinge. So you're going to fold the next 2 together, and again, making sure that you are lined up side to side, middle out, fold it back, middle out, turn it over, fold it back, middle out, okay? Go to the next one on the opposite side. Middle out, fold it back, middle out, turn it over, fold it back, middle out, okay? And now you're on to your last 2. These should be fairly straight all by themselves because they're at the end. Okay, so fold that over, flip it back towards you again. Middle out, okay? The opposite end. Turn it over, come back. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing we just did with glue in the exact same order. So we're going to start in one of our 2 middle pieces. I'm going to go ahead, add my glue. You want good coverage, but you don't need to get crazy. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. So So we're going to fold this over. We're going to make sure, we're going to look at this and make sure we are still even side to side. And you're going to burnish from the middle out, middle out. Wipe up anything that leaks out, fold it back, out, out. Okay, turn it over, fold it back, and burnish it one more time. Okay, we have one complete hinge. Turn it over, rotating it so you're back on that outside or the middle, next middle hinge. Okay, you're going to fold it over, you're going to watch side to side, middle out, middle out. Pick up your glue if there is any. You should get a little bit out, popping out. If you're not, you probably didn't use quite enough glue, and that's okay. You can always fix it. Okay, turn it over, fold it back, and again. So you're maybe, if you're wondering why we keep folding it back and forth like that, is because we want to train these hinges to actually move and not to be too stiff. So we're doing that while we actually glue it all together. Okay, I'm going to go to our next one. Okay, fold it over, make sure we're lined up side to side, out, out. Fold it back, out, out. You may get a little bit more glue. I had a little bit more on that one than I did the one before it. Okay, back, and there you go. Okay, turning it over and rotating again. And I realize this is probably the slowest part of the entire tutorial, but I know I still have a hard time with hinges even after, you know, probably 300 albums with hinges in them. I still have a hard time sometimes. I don't know the last time I had to actually remake a hinge once I started doing it in this exact method, which is why I'm showing you guys to do it this exact way. Okay, so there's our 3, and there's our new one, and back. Okay, and then we're on to our last 2. These, of course, are the easy ones because there's nothing next to them. Okay, back, and one more time. So because this is a large hinge, okay, you will want to make sure that it's even, okay. Smaller hinge, you can get away with it being off by a little bit more. This big, you really can't. So what we're going to do is you're going to measure. So I'm at 3 1/8 at the top. I am at 3 and just a hair over 1/8 at the bottom, and 3 1/8 in the middle. Okay, so that's good. If you're more than 1/8 of an inch off, top or bottom, you're going to want to redo it. Otherwise, your pages are going to be in there kind of wonky. Okay, so we're going to grab this guy, and we are going to glue this down in the middle. Because this is such a large book, I am going to be incredibly generous with the glue on the back of this hinge. I'm going to grab it on the outside edges and kind of pull it out. And center it. And then I'm going to hold it still with one hand, and then I'm going to burnish down each one of the gussets with my other hand. And then switch. Okay, so there you go. We're going to set this aside for now. All right, page bases. So we've got all of these that we scored. You're going to go ahead and miter, and I'm going to miter them 2 at a time. You don't have to do it that way. So we're going to miter here. We're going to miter. Did I just miter one in the wrong spot? Whew, that was close. They were not lined up right, but it's okay. Check that if you're doing 2 at a time. This would not be the first time I've done this either. Okay. Miter, miter. Then on our corner, we are going to cut across like we're doing a pocket. Okay, because that's essentially what we kind of are doing. Okay. So again, we're going to miter. It's there. And there. And the last 2. Okay. Okay, now we're going to fold and burnish all of these. You're going to burnish the same way you did on your hinge. So you're going to fold it over, go from the middle out. Okay? So you'll fold and burnish, grab one of your other pieces. You can do it where you set them inside and then glue these down. I don't like how that looks, so I do them to the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on one tab. I am going to lay this on top. And then stand it up while it's still wet and adjust as needed. Okay? And then I can glue the other side. Now, we're going to do the other different thing we're going to do with this project is we are going to actually build our pages outside of the book. I don't typically do that. I have screwed up more albums than I can tell you doing it that way. However, because of the size of the book and the number of pages, we're going to want to mat these and possibly, or build these and possibly mat these before they go in. Simply, which I did put them in, I built them and then put them in and then matted them with them in the book when I did the girl version, and that worked okay. But we are going to build them outside of the book, okay? Which means if you have my 5/8 inch spacers, it is very, very difficult, if not impossible, to use the spacers when you've got everything on the pages like with this, because there's a lot on these pages, okay? So, I have a process. It's, you know, process I used before I ever made the spacers. But I am going to close these up entirely because they are going to slide onto your hinge like that, okay? Just on. And then glue it down when we get to that point, okay? So we are going to completely seal these off. Okay, there's one. And what you can do is you'll go front, up. So it's the front, this is the top. If you think you might get confused as we start putting elements on the pages themselves, you absolutely don't have to do that. If you want to do it with Post-it notes, you can. That's all going to get matted over, so I don't really mind that it's on there like that. And you're just going to go ahead and assemble all of your pages the same way, page bases the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of my folding and finishing in one shot, and then assemble my pages. Faces done, ready to go. Okay. Next up, we're going to do the front and back inside cover. Okay. So for that, let's move that out of the way. a piece that is 11 by 10. You need two pieces because we're doing the same front and back, so 10 by 11. And then you need two pieces that are 7 by 5 3/4. Okay. And of course, add these to your scrap piles. All right. So let's start with our 7 by 5 3/4 pieces. These are going to be our closure flap. So this is with the 5 3/4 at the top. You're going to score this at 1/2 inch and 3/4. Okay, you're going to do that on both of those pieces. Okay, two little stacks here. Now, with the 10 inches at the top, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2, 8 1/2, 9, 9 1/2. You're going to turn to the 11-inch side, and you are going to score at 6 and 6 1/8. Okay, we're going to do that on both pieces. So 10 inch, 1 1/2, 1, 1 1/2, 8 1/2, 9, 9 1/2. Turn to the 11-inch side, and 6 and 6 1/8. So what we're going to do is this, where you have your little 1/8 inch gusset. You are going to do a very slight miter on both sides into that center score line. Like so. Lift that up and trim it out. Okay? Do the same thing on the other side. Does not have to be a super aggressive miter. In fact, it's best if it's not. Okay. Same thing on the other piece. That one I got a little carried away. It'll be fine, but it is not the best idea to get super aggressive with that. But it will be fine. Okay. So now you're going to do a slight miter here and here. Go to the opposite end, and again here and here. Okay. So what we're going to do, you want the wider section at the top, shorter at the bottom. We are going to fold and burnish our sides here. And again, you're still going to do it from the middle out. Even on that short of a distance, once you get in that habit, you'll have much better folds. Okay, so this, we're going to fold both of our little gussets here. Okay, this one's folding up and attaching here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, get my glue on either side. Okay, pinch that in, go up and down. Okay. All right, there's your first pocket. I'm going to turn this over, and we're going to go the opposite direction with the other two. So you end up with a double accordion pocket made from one piece. Okay. And when we go to put this in the book, these are the tabs we'll use to glue the whole thing in. Now, if you've got anything, see I've got that little piece kind of hanging out there, just snip it off. A little bit over here, it's fine. Okay, so what you end up with is a double accordion pocket. Now, what I did on the little girl book is I just glued this flush down at the bottom, okay? So when it goes in the book, just I glue across here and then on here and glue it down. If you wanted to add another little piece here, you could take one of your smaller scraps. Oh, where's like the 1 inch. And cut it slightly under 7 inches. And score it at 1/2 inch and 5/8. So this one's going to have a short side on there. It's not going to matter because I'm fine with it being completely flat across the bottom. And attach this down here at the bottom, and then you'll kind of tack those two gussets down inside of that. It'll give you a little bit more space, but I don't think it's necessary. But it is an option, okay? So we're going to do the same thing with this one. Miter. Okay. I'm going to fold this one in half first. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and do our smaller pocket. Around, go my other direction. All right, so we can glue this one together. And there you go. Okay, our two top flaps, we're just going to miter and fold and burnish. Okay, and those are ready to go into the front and back of the book. Let me grab our ribbon for inside and I will be right back. Okay, so first thing we are going to do is we're going to take your thinner blue ribbon. The thicker is for your cover, obviously, because there's not as much of it. This is for your cover, or for your closure, that is. And we are going to pick somewhere that's going to be our top. And go ahead and take this down. Now, I am not going to try and pre-cut my ribbon because I am not the best when it comes to the tying of the bows, as I'm sure you all know by now. Okay, so I've got one top down, and pull that off. I'm going to glue down a flap. Okay, because our matting will go over the top of said flap, or the tab on said flap. Okay, so it's just going to go centered all the way to the top. Okay, like so. Now, I'm going to take my ribbon, I'm going to go across, I'm going to go about 4 inches down past the bottom. Okay, we're going to come do this on the other side. Exact same thing. Oops. So I'm just going to center this, get that ready. Again, I'm going to center this up. Okay, and again, you're going to go down about 4 inches past the bottom of the book. Get that off. Okay, now we're going to line it up. Put this down on the bottom, then we're going to put down our matting. Okay, so kind of try and line it up with the ribbon above it, and we're going to go, well, about how far do we need to go? Yeah, we'll go about the same. So attach it, go about 4 inches above. So I'm going to line that up. Like so. Come up here, trim that to the side. Okay, go ahead and open those up and get your 2 pieces of matting that we set aside. And go ahead and glue these down so you can get the backing off your tape, because apparently I can't do that tonight. How much easier this is when you actually do the steps in the right order, as opposed to gluing it down and then going, oh shoot, ribbon. Okay, same thing on the other side. now you're going to take one of your pockets, you're going to line it up like so, and it is going down at the bottom. Bottom of the matting, not the bottom of the book, okay? If you want to set it up a little bit from the bottom of the matting, you can do that too. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to go on my side tabs, and then I'm going to go underneath there, and just across the bottom. Okay? Pinch those in. Slide it over if you need to, and then just hold it down for a second and give it a minute to dry. And there you go. Your first element is in your book. Okay, so then I can close this up, and we'll do bow challenge self. We'll tie a little bow. Ta-da! It worked. And then we will repeat on the other side with our other pocket assembly. Okay. There we go. This one for a minute. And we can start working on our page elements. Okay. And tie this one off, and then we can put this whole thing aside for now. If you want to go ahead right now and add your ribbon for your front, your closure, let's actually go ahead and do that now, since now would be a good time. Okay, so I'm not cutting it in half yet. I am centering it up. And attaching it there. Turning it to the other side. Getting my tape ready. And lining it up over here and attaching that, and then I can just pull this out and cut it in half. Okay, so then that is all ready to go, and we can work on our page assemblies. Okay, so first page style has flaps that are going to cross, so we're going to cut the first ones we're going to do are going to be 5.5 by 7. We need 6 of them. So you want 2 sheets of paper. You're going to cut 7 inches. And then you're going to cut 5.5. And 5.5. There's 4. Out of the piece you cut off, so that's another 5 inches. You're going to cut, hold on, what am I doing? Yep. Just kidding. I'm trying to remember how I did this. I did this with like fewer sheets earlier, and I don't remember what I did. So then we're going to go, so that was 4. We're going to do a third one that's going to be cut to 7 inches, and then 5.5 and 5.5. Okay. You're going to take these 3 5-inch pieces. You're going to cut this to 7.5. Okay. So So we have 6 pieces that are 7 by 5.5. And we need 6 that are 7.5 by 5. So right there we've got 3. We're going to go 7.5. There's 4 and 5. And we're going to go one more. We're going to go 5 inches. 7.5. Okay. So again, hang on to your scraps. We are going to score. So the 6 pieces that are 7.5 by 5, with the 7.5 at the top, you're going to score each of these at 1/2 inch. Okay. Okay. These pieces that are 5.5 by 7, you're going to do the 5.5 at the top and score at 1/2 inch. So, we're going to go ahead and miter. Let's not miter with my ribbon scissors, because that would not be ideal. Okay, so I'm mitering there, and there. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other pieces. Because the page styles are repeating in this, we are going to do this kind of assembly line, okay? All right. So I'm going to grab a page base, okay? This is going to be my front because my opening that's going to go on the hinge is on the left. I have an opening on the top, okay? So I'm going to take 2 of my pieces that have the score line at the top, bold and burnish. These are going to get centered top and bottom, okay? Turn that so I can make sure I'm lined up right. Line it up at the top and covering the middle. Okay, so then let's make sure we're oriented right again. Okay, closed on the right, open on the left, and at the top. Okay, now we need our ribbon again. So grab your massive length of, oh, crying it loud, the ribbon, and your tape again. And we are going to go on the side and center. We're going to go about 3 inches past. See, those are not my ribbon scissors. And we're going to go on the other side and do the same thing. Just trying to get those lined up. Okay. Now, we're going to take 2 of our side fold pieces. And again, you're going to fold and burnish. And then we're going to glue these onto the sides. So these are going to close over the 2 top and bottom flaps. Okay. Hopefully I did those long enough. I'm now second guessing myself. Yeah, those are on the shorter side, which is probably fine for most of you if you're not me. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Okay. And then, where's my top? There's my top. We're going to see how short I made my pieces. Ugh, short. It's okay. It will be fine. Okay? So you're going to repeat that on your next 2. So you're going to grab another page assembly and do the same thing, and a third and do the same thing. Okay, our next page style has a large flap, a belly band, and a waterfall. So first thing we're going to cut is, hold on, I moved some stuff around last night and now I can't find my pieces. Okay, so I have all of these scraps. You're going to have quite a few that are 4 inches. So that's what we want to find. Are all of our, that's not 4 inch. Okay, oops. Sorry, the cat is in here hanging out in an Amazon box like it's his job and just making all kinds of noise. So sorry, slightly bigger than 4 inches. First thing we need is 3 pieces that are 4 by 8 3/4. Okay. So 8 3/4 by 4. We need 12 that are 4 by 6. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces here. So we're going to cut that to 4 inches and then 6 inches. Ooh, God, I hate it when it makes that noise. So that's 6. 7, 8. And then I'll take. So, fun fact. Apparently when the memory card gets full in this thing and it shuts off, it doesn't beep. So, I am so sorry. So I know we left off at cutting the 4 by 6 flaps. There's 12 of these needed. We cut our belly bands. The piece we did not cut is this flap that is 7 3/4 by 8 1/4. For this one, with the 8 1/4 at the top of your scoreboard, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, okay, on all 3 pieces, and then miter. The belly band, you're going to put your 8 3/4 inch side at the top of the scoreboard and score at 1/2 inch, and at 8 1/4 on all 3 pieces. For the waterfall pieces, you're going to put the 6 inch piece, or 6 inch side at the top of the scoreboard and score at 1/2 inch on all 12 pieces. You are going to make 3 piles of 4 pieces each of the 4x6. Okay, so we are going to assemble the belly band and the waterfall outside off of our page. So we're going to go ahead, and I have done 2 of them already before I realized everything had turned off. So I apologize. I hate when that happens. And I could have sworn before I started this I had erased everything on the memory card, but apparently not. So, okay. So with it upside down, we're going to go ahead and build our waterfall. Since our flaps are the same width as our waterfall, it makes it super easy. Each one of these belly bands is going to have 4 waterfall flaps on them. There's 2, 3, okay, and on this last one, rather than putting it down where you're going to have this little tab hanging out at the bottom, you're going to fold it back the other direction, and we're going to attach it to the tab on top of the tab above, like so. Okay, and then that all folds down. Go ahead and fold and burnish the end of our belly band. Fold and burnish our flaps, the tab on our flaps. Okay, so we've got our pieces. I'm going to take the 3-page assemblies that we did before with our flaps. Make sure you have your opening to the right, or I'm sorry, to the left and on top. So I'm going to check all 3 just to make sure. Okay, they're all good. I'm going to turn them face down. So now your opening will be on the right-hand side, opening at the top. Okay, so first thing we are going to do is put down our belly band. Okay, so I am just going to center this right to left and adhere that down. Okay, and then I'm going to take one of my flaps, and that is going to go all the way to the outside left edge. It will be even top to bottom. So that when this page is opened up, this will open out. Okay. All right, so that's that assembly. This is the only page assembly that is going to have magnets, and those of course are included because all of that kind of thing is included in my kits, so that you don't get started on it and realize, or go to start on it and realize, oh, I need cardstock, I need magnets, I need ribbon, whatever it may be. I want you to be able to take one of my kits and literally throw it in your bag with your tools and your glue and go to a crop. That simple. Okay, so I've put my magnet down with the score tape on this side. I'm going to drop the other one down on top. And tack that down with tape, and that page assembly is done. So it is going to go back off to the side, and then we're just going to repeat with our other 2 pieces, or other 2 assemblies. Okay. Okay. play nicely with me, which they don't act like they do. So again, we're just going to do that on that inside. Drop that one down on top. And there we go. And our last one. Alright, and the last magnet set, again, if it wants to cooperate and slide apart, which it does not want to do, every once in a while. They're harder to get apart than normal, but that's okay. Alright, so that is 3 of your page assemblies done. We are halfway at this point. Alright, so for our next one, we do need to mat this before we put the page assembly on that. So I will grab some matting and I will be right back. Okay, so these are the 3 that I'm going to use to mat the front of this before we do anything. So I'm actually going to grab my trimmer and we are going to cut these to 7 5/8 by 7 5/8. I'm going to go ahead and put one of each of these down. On the front. So this one is the front of that paper. Cute little booties on it. Just like that. This one is actually the back of the paper with the little bears with the balloons. And this one is the back side of the 3x4 cut aparts. Okay. All right. So those are prepped. Now, for this one, we need 3 pieces that are 7 by 6.5, and we don't really have anything in our scrap pile that's going to work for that, so we are going to cut 3 new pieces. I'm going to cut the 6.5 first, and then I'm going to cut the 7. Okay, and then from this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, can't do anything with this one. These, wait a minute, what size are these? No, these will not work either. All right, so then we want to find in our scraps, we should have one bigger piece that is 7 by 12. I'm going to cut this down to 6, and then 6 again. And then I'm going to grab one more. Seriously, guys, I have a huge mess over here. Give me 1 second. I keep like piling stuff on top of my. Oh wait, is this the right size? No, those are also not the right size. And the leftovers that you do have of like all your scraps, I ended up using those for journaling mats, which we'll get to that in a second here. Okay, we're going to grab one more full sheet and we're going to cut this into 4 6x6 pieces. Okay, all right. So since the 6x6 are on top, we're going to start with those. Assuming I can find my tool. And my other tools. All right. So, all 4 6x6 pieces, you're going to score at 1/2 inch. With the 6 inches at the top, which should be fairly obvious since they're square. The other 3 pieces that are 7 by 6.5, starting with the 7 inches at the top, you are going to score at 1/2 inch and 6.5. Turn to the 6.5 inch side and score at 1/2 inch again. Okay, so we're going to do that on all 3 of these. So 1/2 inch, 6.5. Turn to the 6.5 side, score at 1/2 inch again, and here we go, 1/2 and 6.5, turn, and 1/2 inch again. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 3 pockets, and you're going to miter. I am doing mine stacked. You, of course, don't have to do it that way if you're not comfortable doing it that way. So we're going to miter, and then we are going to cut across this bottom corner, like so. Where the score lines cross is where you're going to cut it straight across. And then we are going to miter all 6 of these. All right, so what we are going to do is you're going to take one of these pocket bases. We're going to fold and score, or fold and burnish our score lines on the sides. Okay, then you are going to take your ribbon, where I have lost my ribbon now, and we are going to turn it over this way. And you're going to attach one end here. Just center it up. And then we're going to figure out how long we need to leave this, where me and my little bow challenge self can actually tie this, which I did go back on the ones where I screwed up yesterday and did fix those, that honestly, where this is smaller, this would actually work, so I'm going to cut that one off there because this will work for my other side. Just clean up that end, just so I am not wasting the ribbon where I cut it too short. because I do that all the time. Which, in large part, is why you don't see me use a ton of ribbon for closures like this, because I literally do this every time. Okay, so this should be good. I'm going to test it. Yeah, that's definitely good. Okay, so we've got our ribbon on there. I'm going to take 2 of your 6x6 pieces and go ahead and fold and burnish. And I know what I have not done thus far, and I will go back and do this before we mat and put anything in the book. I did round my corners on everywhere I could round a corner, so if that is something you want to do, go ahead. If not, don't worry about it. I will go back and do that on this here in just a second, because it just dawned on me I was not doing that. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to tie this closed. I'm going to fold and burnish my bottom. And I'm going to grab one of my pages, making sure my opening is on the left and the top. And we are going to glue this down about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom, centered side to side. Okay? Because this is going to be just a nice big pocket. Of course, get your backing off your tape. Unless you're me and that's, you know, fight with it for a minute first. Okay? So what's going to happen is you'll have this pocket on the top, and then this will open up, and you've got your flaps. Okay? So we're going to do this with our other 2 pockets. I'm going to repeat this 2 more times, and just do the exact same thing. Okay? So again, I'm going to take a pocket piece, fold and burnish my sides. I am going to go ahead. That one feels like it's still going to be too short. So we're going to go about like so. And there. Flaps. And again. Bottom, and another one. Okay, and our final piece. And I think this should be good, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut that in half. again, adhere the flaps. Oh, don't do that. Oh my gosh, seriously. That was just me not actually having the backing. I had the tape and the backing because, you know, that sounds like something I'd do. Okay. All right. And I know I said this before, but I will say it again. You do not have to put these in the same order that I'm putting them. To me, this was what made the most sense, so that we have an element that has the ribbon closure facing something that does not, as opposed to being ribbon, 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 and then other closures. You know what I mean? So, there we go. Those are good. We're going to set that aside, and we'll move on to our last page style. Okay, so for our last page set, we are going to use pretty much all scraps. In fact, I think almost all scraps. So it's just going to kind of depend on if you have cut along with me. You should have enough to do this. So we have a flap that is going to be 5 by 7 3/4, and I have quite a few 5.5 inch wide pieces here. So I'm going to cut it to 7 3/4. I'm going to trim it down to 5. Okay. And then you need 3 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 8 3/4. So I'm going to take these 2. There's that one. I've got one more. 1 1/4. 3/4, and then I'm going to take my shorter ones, wherever they have disappeared to, and we need 3 pieces that are 3 3/4 by 8 3/4. So 8 3/4, and these should be 3 3/4 already. Okay. Then we need 12 pieces that are 4.5 by 3 5/8. So I'm going to take a whole assortment of small pieces. So like these, I'm going to trim to 3 5/8, and then 4.5. So this is what 1 2 3. Take these that are also the right size, and we're going to go 3 5/8, 4.5, 3 5/8, 4.5. So we're at what? 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay. And again, this is going to be what, 1 2 3 more. Actually, no. Let's do it out of some of these other small ones. So let's see if this is wide enough. It's not. Okay. So hang on to these. Some of these you should be able to use with cut-aparts and whatnot. I'm just looking to see what else I've got over here before I cut into another bigger scrap. Go 4.5. 3 5/8. So what am I at here? Should be at 8, right? 2, whoops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So 4.5, 3 5/8. Okay. All right. So at this point, this is what I have left as far as scraps. So photo mats, etc. And you're gonna have, I've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4 full-size sheets. I made sure you had extra so that if you need to remake your hinge, you have enough paper to do so. If you cut something else funky, you'll be fine. Okay, but what we are gonna do is cut this into 5 by 7s. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in my trimmer at 5 inches. I'm gonna start my blade at 7. I'm gonna turn it, go to 5 inches again, cut to 7, there's 1. Turn to 5 inches again, back, 2. And last one, 3, 4, scrap. Okay, so 3 of these you need for inserts for this particular page. The other one you can tuck in somewhere else. Alright, so now we are going to go ahead and score. So I'm going to start with my 3 5/8 by 4.5 inch pieces. And I don't remember which side I need to actually score these on. So let's look. So they're going to go underneath here like this. So let's see here. Okay, that's what I thought, but I couldn't remember for sure. Okay, so with the 4.5 at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score all of these at 1/2 inch. Drop one? Or did I not cut enough? I cut all of them. Okay, I need to cut one more, because clearly I wasn't paying attention and I miscounted. But that's okay, because we have lots of scraps, so we're good. So our flap is going to be the piece that is 5 by 7 3/4. So with the 5 inches at the top, you are going to score it half and at 5/8. Okay, so 5 by 7 3/4, 5 inches across the top, half and 5/8, half, okay, and then we have first pocket is going to be 8 3/4 by 4 1/4. Starting at the 8 3/4 side, you're going to score it half an inch and 8 1/4. Turn to the 4 1/4 side and score it half an inch. And you're going to do that on all 3 of those. And then your next 3 are going to be 8 3/4 by 3 3/4. So again, starting on the 8 1/4 side, you're going to score it half and 8 1/4. Turn to your 3 3/4 side and score it half an inch. All right, so now we're going to grab our pages that we just did. Again, make sure everything is faced the same way, okay? And then flip the stack over, and we are going to miter everything. Before we do anything else, it's miter stuff. Okay, so the flap, you're going to miter that from the first score line. Okay. The pockets, we are going to miter at the top. And then go across that bottom corner because it's a pocket. And we don't want the corners of the pockets to be bulky. Okay, miter the next set. And then the flaps are not getting mitered because we are going to do stacked flaps. Okay, all right, so what I'm going to do first is assemble my pockets. So taller pocket, shorter pocket. I am going to go ahead and fold and burnish my smaller pocket. And then I am going to adhere it down on top of the larger pocket. Okay, so I'm just lining that up using the score lines. Man, sometimes me and the glue are just out of control. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one and do it. next one. You slid. Don't do that. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my first pocket, and then I can fold and burnish. I'm going to grab my first page base. Helps if you actually put the stuff where it's supposed to go. Imagine that, right? Okay. So there's my pocket down. Slide that one to the side. Grab the next one. Next one. And our last one. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to turn them upside down, and we're going to go ahead and do our flap. Okay, so you're going to burnish both score lines and then flatten the 1/8 inch back out, okay, like so. Because if you still have it popped up, at least I know I have this problem, if I still have it popped up, then I tend to not line it up in the right place. So we're going to go ahead and put that down. Flip that open. Wipe up some extra glue. Okay, then you can pop your gusset back out. And then let's go ahead and put all the flaps on, and then we'll do our little piece underneath. Okay. And then the second score line, and then flatten it back out. Next one. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to open one of these up. I'm going to grab 4 of my flaps. Like I said, we are not mitering these. I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish. So what we're going to do, and this is something I've done in several other projects. So I've got them lined up side to side at the bottom. Okay. We're going to put glue on that tab, push it down, and then squeeze them together. Okay. And we can put glue on here. And you're going to put it just barely inside on that side. And then the other one, once we get it assembled, will go just barely inside on the other side. If you want to center it up more, you can. So let me just pop that back off. So I'm going to lay that one about where it's going to go. Because you want them close but not touching, if that makes sense. It slid on me again. Okay, so I'm going to assemble these two. And since it is only 2 layers, I don't feel like I need to, you know, normally if I stack them like that and there's more layers, I will use like the Dollar Tree clips to kind of clip them together and let them set up. Where it's just like that, it's fine. Okay, so these will flip up and up. And then one of your little 5x7 mats will tuck in here and hold that whole assembly closed. Okay, so let's do the next one. Exact same process. If you don't want to glue them together like this and then put them in, you can do them one at a time. So I'm going to go right there. And I'm going to go right there. And truly, to get the spacing right, this might be the easier option. And then the next one will just go on top of the first one. Okay. There's that one. And one more. This one that way too. That worked really well. Okay. Now, if the bottom of this catches right here, it'll be fine. Because of how this closes, it's not going to make any difference. Even once there's pictures on here. that in, and there we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna sort these out the same order I did them on the little girl's book. So for that one, that magnet's strong, it's catching through all those layers. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so there's all of your page assemblies. Now, when I did the little girl book, I did put these in the book at this point, and then went ahead and matted after doing so. I still think that's probably going to be easier. Just trying to think, like, once you've matted them but not decorated them. So you could mat them and then put them in, but don't decorate them till they're in, because, like I said, the ephemera that's in this kit is a lot of the chipboards, so they're a little bit heavier, a little bit bulkier. That might make it harder to put the pages in after the fact. So I am going to go ahead and put them in. Okay. And we are going to flip this upside down and start from the back. Okay. So there's our pages 11 and 12. I am just getting glue down both sides, the inside here. And I'm just going to slide that on over the hinge. And I'm actually going to kind of go this way and burnish just with my fingers. And then I'm going to pull it back out just a touch because that's too low on the hinge. There we go. Okay, like so. I'm trying to be kind of careful because we did mat the spine. I don't want any extra glue leaking out and ripping up that matting, because that is something I have done. I cannot tell you how many times that I get carried away with the glue and then I rip up my matting on my spine. Okay, going to my next one. And again, you're going to pull it up just a bit. And when I say I'm pulling it up, I'm just pulling it away from where the hinge actually moves. Okay. Okay, so there's my score line, and I've got this pulled back about 1/16 of an inch. Probably, honestly, not as much as I should, but it will be okay. Okay, so this one, we'll do this one, next one with it zoomed in a little bit more. So, and if you are someone who always mats and decorates and does all that and then puts them in, you know how to do this already. This is not typically the order in which I do this. Okay, so there it is, flush with the bottom, okay? And then I just will wiggle it back. That right there is the entire reason I designed the hinge spacers. However, I discovered, putting together the other one, that, at least for me, and it could just be because this is not how I typically do it, and I just need to kind of practice with it more, I had a hard time using those with them already built and ready to go in the book. So, it is entirely up to you, whatever you are most comfortable with is what you need to be doing. Okay. Our next one. And thankfully art glitter glue dries fairly quickly, so it ends up not being much of an issue. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. And our last one. So this is the one I want to be careful on so that I don't inadvertently, see how I've got glue seeping out right there? I don't want to pull up my matting. So I'm going to be very careful with this one. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit for a minute. Now, I will be right back and we'll talk about matting. Okay, so matting. All right. I am going to mat on camera, which I typically do not do. However, you have your whole big stack of pattern paper, okay? Awesome. I matted pretty much everything, front and back, in the girls' book. This is what I had left, okay? So this is why I'm going to mat this on camera with you. Now, with that being said, grab the girls' book here. Depending on if you are giving this as a gift or if you already have your baby pictures ready and you're just gonna, you know, put them as you're going, you won't need to mat like the backs of things unless you want to, okay? So like I matted front and back on there. I matted, well, that one you needed to. Like this one, you know, got completely matted and that little thing is not where it's supposed to be. Like that, the front is matted, the back is not. The back sides of these are not matted just because I didn't think I had enough scraps left really to get these. Well, I could have if I wanted them all the same because I did have 2 sheets of cut-aparts left that I had not used. But it was not enough to mat. It was going to be tight. So that being said, like the waterfalls, I just matted the bottom sections there and not the backs, of course, because the backs of the waterfalls, I rarely do I mat those. So it's kind of up to you. If you're giving this as a gift, you might want to mat everything or you might want to mat the fronts and then, you know, if you've got the little place photo here stamps, if you've got those, to put those on the back, that type of thing. It's going to be entirely up to you. However, because it ended up, like I said, this is a big project. This is quite honestly a huge project. Because of that, and because I don't want you guys to run out of paper because, you know, in designing, you kind of look at your paper and how you're cutting your paper a little bit differently than maybe you do if you're just, you know, following along and making a project, and then you go to mat it and go, oh, whoops. I don't want you guys to have that happen in this case, because this is probably the least amount I have had left from any kit that I've done so far. Okay, usually you have 2 or 3 whole sheets left so that you have that flexibility to kind of, you know, make a mistake here or there, or, you know, what have you. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and cut apart. This is the sheet I had you pull out at the beginning and set aside. Let's go ahead and cut this apart so it's done and ready to go, and then we'll do some of the other matting before it gets too much later here and I go to bed. So we are just going to cut apart all of our little month blocks, except apparently not that one because I did not get to the end there. Okay. And then I'm probably going to, for the most part, stick to the same or similar patterns that I did in the girls' book when we go through and mat this. And even if you're not going to mat it exactly like I am, it would probably still be a good idea to kind of pay attention to what I'm doing, like, you know, how many pieces that I'm cutting into the 5x7s, and then trimming down, that kind of thing. Like which cut aparts I'm using, because we are going to use some of the 4x6 cut aparts for the tops of those waterfalls, so 3 of the 4x6 cut aparts, and then we're going to use the leftover cut aparts, where I decided, you know, because I wanted some photo mats and I wanted journaling spots, because that's the other thing I noticed when I went to start matting, is this collection in its cut aparts. So where's some of them? So no journaling cards. No journaling cards. No journaling cards. Like not even one where they, you know, do an outline and then you've got a center thing, which for being a baby paper really kind of baffled me. So what I did is, and you will have seen this on the walkthrough, you're getting my new journaling template tool. Okay, this is coming as part of your kit. They will also be available by themselves on the website, but you are getting this in your kit. And what I did with that is I took, so like here's one of the extra cut aparts, and I have done a little journaling spot on the back. Okay. There's one where I used, I think it's gotta be one of these, because these were the bigger ones. Okay. So you'll see on the journaling card, or guide, you've got these little options down here at the bottom. That's to do your little bullet points or your lists. I've got one in here somewhere where I use the little heart. And you absolutely don't have to do it that way. I just thought that would be a nice little addition. This was something I was kind of working on just for my own personal use, for my planner that I've been doing this year, well, actually since like October, that I kind of had needed something like this. So I was working on just making one for myself. And then, like I said, I started matting this and went, why are there no journaling cards? Like, this is crazy. So I went ahead and made it for you. All right, maybe that's the one. Yes, so there's the one with the little hearts. Okay, so just, you know, an FYI. But yeah, there's no journaling cards, which, like I said, was just incredibly weird. All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to mat our front and back cover first. I think I am just going to stick with this one because this is a little bit easier to move in and out of the way. So I'm going to start with the little sleeping baby bear paper here, and I'm going to cut this to 7 7/8 high. And then I'm going to cut it to 7 7/8 wide for the cover, and we are going to use the back side. For the spine, our spine is 4 inches. I am cutting this to 3 15/16. Yes, I know that's a weird measurement, and I apologize, but it tends to, when you're matting your spine, particularly with as large as this is, to go almost the same width as what the chipboard was you started with, because you see how we've got that extra space on the sides that's not really space you can mat. If you get that almost that same width, I think, at least to my eye, it looks better. So we are going to put this with the little bears sleeping, facing up. And totally should have done this part before we put everything in the book, but I didn't, and that's okay. We will just go with it. Okay. This one we are going to do on our front cover. Back off of that. Yep, so we are going to do the little blue with the stars facing up. Is my bag. Bone folder. Okay, so again, this was 7 7/8 by 7 7/8. This giant bone folder came from bonefolder.com. They do not sell wholesale where I could get these and carry them, which is unfortunate, because that one and then my other one that's got the little grooves in it that I use mostly when I'm doing junk journals. Occasionally I'll use it on like a cover just to kind of smooth it out. They don't sell either one of these wholesale. They are on the pricier side, but it is absolutely worth it, because for whatever reason, Carta paper to me is the only one where I end up with like the glue lines showing through. No other paper seems to do that to me. It's just this one, and I don't know why, because this one's so heavy, unless that is why, I don't know. So this one we're going to go 7 7/8 again. By 7 7/8. And this one is going to go on the back. That's where I was kind of wondering with this, with the Carta paper, if I should start using the Fairly Arts glue with this, just because it doesn't dry as fast and you have more time to get it smoothed out. I typically use that with cards and with things that I need that time to be able to wiggle something around. Okay, so that is matted. For this front inside, or the, well, the back part of this flap, I have this piece that is left over from when we were matting one of our base pages like this, okay? Because I cut it so that that little branding strip that shows the pattern on the back side is across the bottom, I'm actually just going to trim this to the height I need it, which is actually the height I need. So this piece is 5 inches. This needs to be 4 7/8, which it is, and it's 7 wide, so we're going to go 6 7/8. Okay. Oh, and the other thing I realized after I glued all those pages in, I hadn't done my corner rounding, so I did go back and do that. So as we're going through here, we're probably going to find little pieces that come off when you do the corner rounding, which I swear are the bane of my existence. I can go through here and I can sweep and vacuum my 4 in here, and I still find them. As soon as I'm done, I'll find a bunch more of them. But I'm like, they multiply like dust bunnies. Okay. So that is going to go in here, like so. Okay. We're going to mat the front of this and the front of this. I'm not going to worry about this part of it until I'm done with everything else, and then I'll come through with scraps and get that part. Okay. So what we have, we've got this super cute piece. We're going to trim this to 12 inches. I cannot tell if I'm actually lined up where I want to on that. Okay. So I'm going to cut off the branding strip, and I'm going to cut this into 4 5x7s. Okay. So we're going 5 inches, 7, 5 inches again, back down to 7, 1, 5 inches again, 7, 5 inches, and 7. Alright, so this is a directional paper, so these two clearly are not going to work for what we're trying to do. Okay, so how we're going to do this is like this. We are going to take this directional piece, will go up here. This non-directional piece, well, it's still directional, is going to go over there. This one's going to go here. Actually, just kidding. There we go. No, that is how we need to do it. Okay. So this is 5x7. We're going to trim these down. So this is the thing. You're cutting them to 5x7 because that's the easiest way to cut that into the 4 pieces and get all 4 pieces. You're then going to come back in and cut them down to 5 7/8 by 6 7/8. Okay. You're going to do that on all 3 of these. 4 of these. See, I can't even talk. Piece that's trying to fall off the back of my table. And there we go. Okay. So this one does not need a corner around it, so we can go ahead and just glue this one down. Less than 4, 5? Maybe it is. Maybe this needed to be... Sorry, that one needs to be 4 3/4, which is fine. I can fix that in just a second. This one is going down on top here, so I'm going to corner around at the bottom. These two need corner rounded on the side. Okay, and let's go ahead and we will trim this one down to 4 3/4. I did totally forget that that one is slightly smaller, but that's okay. It's an easy fix. And it might be faster for me to show you guys if I just like paper clip stuff where it needs to go. I think we will do that moving forward. Because you don't need to watch me glue them, you just need to know how to cut them. So, all right. So there's that. I'm going to go ahead and tie this back off. And go ahead and put the other two over here. Yes, okay. I don't remember I haven't figured out what's going on the front of these. I know the backs of these are going to just be solids, one of the solid papers that you again will cut the same way with 5x7s. You can do, I think that's the only place really that I ended up. There's one other spot I used one of the solids and I can't think where it is, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so this base piece in here is going to be a solid piece. Oh, I know, we use them as photo mats on the page where it's got the magnet. Okay, so we are going to cut this to 7 5/8 by 7 5/8, and that one's going to go down in here. Okay. So I'm just going to set that there and close this up. Okay, this side, this front part is going to be, again, 7 5/8, or yeah, 7 5/8. Because remember, your page base is 7 3/4, so you take an eighth of an inch off of that, and that's 7 5/8. Okay. Okay, so that one's going to go there. So I'm going to grab the paper clip. Okay. On this back side is where you're going to put one of the solid 5x7 mats, and then you'll piece around it. It looks really cute. So the front here we'll come back to. Okay. Over here we have, is that? No. We're going to skip that one for right now. Okay. This one, again, we're going to take another one and do the 4 5x7s. And these are going to go a couple places on this one. So, I'm going to go ahead and trim off our branding strip down here at the bottom. And then we will do our same little trick. So go to 5 inches. Seven inches up. Go to 5. 7 inches down. Go to 5. 7 inches back up. Go to 5, and then cut all again, this one's not super directional, but you'll see on the bibs, there's like a sailboat and there's a horse, so it just kind of, you know, in that little star, so you just kind of turn it the way you think you want to turn it. 2 of those are going there. These 2 are going somewhere else, and I can't think off the top of my head where, but we'll figure that out in a second. Okay, our next page like that we're going to cut into the 4 5x7s is going to be this one with the little bears. Same one we used on the cover. Okay, so again, we're going to go 5 inches. I'm just going to tuck them in there because I can come and put them back, glue them in later. I know 2 of these are going on these 5x7 pieces, so I'm just going to randomly tuck them in. Okay. On the back side of page 5, we're going to take this one and go 7 5/8. By 7 5/8. Corner round. And paper clip this one to my page. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and trim this one. Okay, so I'm going to line this one up in here and trim like so. I'm going to flip it over and we're going to go 5 7/8, and then, so this will be 5 7/8 high, 5 3/8 wide. Okay, so we're going to go 5 3/8. That one's going to go right there. The other piece of this is going to go somewhere else, but I don't remember where. And then this one, we're going to go ahead, cut the branding strip off, and we want this piece for one of our waterfall fronts. Okay, so needs to be 3 7/8 wide. It's currently 4 inches, so I'm going to take a 1/16 of an inch off of each side. And sometimes you will find that the cut aparts that should be a 4x6 are not truly a 4x6. Okay, so you will just adjust and trim until you get your width evenly on each side, and then we are going to cut, because this is also going to be 5 3/8. I'm going to cut that completely off the bottom on that one. Okay. And I'm going to clip that in here. Okay. I'm going to flip back to one of our other waterfalls. And we're going to take this guy. And I'm going to do the same thing again. 1/16 of an inch. in. And then this one, I'm going to line this up so that I'm cutting just above the little flag on the boat here. Okay. Then when I turn it around the other way to do the 5 3/8, could have gone a little bit higher up on this side, it's fine. Okay, so that's going to be another one of my waterfall fronts. Okay, this piece, what I did on the little girl book is I took this piece and I ended up trimming this one from the months cut apart down and putting it on top of that so that that was like a mat underneath it. However, since this one, they're the same color, I think for this one I'm going to do this guy instead. So what I'm going to do is take 1/8 of an inch off this end. I'm going to take a little over 1/8 of an inch off this other end, because again, it's not exact, and that's closer. And then I'm going to adhere this one down like this. I'm going to use a piece of my leftover chipboard, possibly 2, that I'll cut just slightly under this size of this back, and I'll use that to pop that up on the cover. Okay, so I'm going to clip those 2 together and set those aside. And then our last piece for our 4x6 there, or for the waterfall that is going to be this one right here. And trim that off. And trim him out. Okay. And this one is pretty much 3 7/8. Okay, so this one we're going to cut a little bit off the top, and it'll be a little bit more off of the bottom, and then there's the front of your last waterfall piece. Okay. All right. So let me, okay, so then we've got this other half. This I can cut to use on my 6x6, well 6x5.5 piece. I've got these that are going to go, I think, on, I think these go on the waterfall on the back. Okay, so I'm going to tuck those there because they're going to go there. So the last thing you're going to end up matting is going to be these pages right here, just because you will go through your scraps to mat those. So let me go through and get all of these things glued down, and I'll be back and we'll do some of the other pages. Okay, so we are on to the rest of our bigger pieces. So I'm going to move this to the side so we can just cut things and get them all ready. So I've got 3 pieces here that we are going to do the same little 5x7 trick on. You're going to be really good at that by the time you're done with this book. I promise. Alright, so we got 5. stack with these, and then I'll go through and kind of tuck them in where they go. Last night I did go through and, oh, maybe it's only 2. Okay, maybe just kidding, maybe it's only 2 pages left to this too. I did go through last night and glue down the ones that we cut last night that I showed you where I was putting them. And a project like this, the best way to approach it when it's a big project is to go through and find the largest spots that need matted. And either mat them first or decide how you're going to mat them first. Okay. All right. So this one, let's see here. We're going to do this. Was it this and this? I think it was. Yes. Okay. So those are going to go on that other flap that's down there. This one, we are going to put these. Okay. And then this one, oh, maybe that is where that was supposed to go. Hold on. Just kidding. Just kidding. These are going over here. This one, I promise I know what I'm doing. Those go there. Okay. So this one, I think we're going to go ahead and do those. And then these, I have one that is going to go on the back side of this flap. So we'll do the little bibs facing out on that one, and then this will go on to that one. Okay, so next we're going to cut, so we did our base paper on this page, so underneath the flaps we're going to do that base paper, and the one that goes on the next page style like that. So this is going to be 7 5/8 by 7 5/8. And then this one is also going to be 7 5/8 by 7 5/8. Okay, and then all of our little, 6 by 5.5 and 6 by 6 for the base part is what we're going to cut next. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them all, and then we can go through afterwards and figure out where we're going to put them all. Okay, so these are going to be 5 7/8. All right. And 5 7/8. Trying to remember. Okay, so this one I am going to do, so 5 7/8 high, five 3/8, and 5 3/8. Okay, those are going on this one. And then I'm going to cut one more of these to 5 7/8 because that's going to go on the base down underneath. Okay, so this one, we can cut that one to 5 3/8 and decide which one this is going on. I think we are going to go on that one. Okay, I've got this piece that is a half of the cut aparts. So we are going to do 5 7/8 again. And then we'll do and then I think we're going to use this for the base on the other two like this. So 5 7/8 again. And 5 7/8. Okay. All right, so one of these will go here. Okay. That's not going to work to tuck that in there for now. That one we've got figured out. This one will also go. And that one will go on the base there. Okay. All right, so then we've got that one. We still need this one. So we are going to go 5 7/8, 5 3/8, and 5 3/8, and then the back side of those same will be 5 7/8 by 5 3/8. And I'm going to go ahead and cut those, but I'm not going to decide which spots they're going in just yet. I'm just going to set these aside, and I will decide that as I go through and get everything adhered down. Which, as I said before, I'm not gluing them with you, I'm showing you where they're going. Simply so that this doesn't take us a million years to go through and mat. So, as you can see, I go all over the place. This is why I typically do not mat things on camera, because the only rhyme or reason that I just totally lost my train of thought. The only reason, well, okay, the only theory I can give you, like I said, is go through, find your biggest pieces that need matted, and do those first. Okay, so the next one we need to do that one. I feel like I'm missing one here. No, that one's done. So that one, oh, so just one more of those. So I am down to my cut aparts. So I think I'm gonna leave this one. I'm gonna keep this one to cut apart and mat and use as journaling spots and photo mats. And I've got these two. So I think we're gonna hang on to this one, which means we're gonna use this one. And again, this is going to be 7 5/8. By 7 5/8. Okay. All right, so I am going to go ahead. So I'll kind of show you what we're doing here. So in here, these are going to go on the fronts. The back sides, like I said, you can leave them blank for pictures, or you can go ahead and mat them. What I'm going to end up matting with, because I have not cut into the rest of my solids, so that's where the rest of my solids are going to go, is most likely on the back sides of these. Okay, so here we've got those two. This one's going to go down on the bottom, and on the inside there, I think we're just going to go ahead. So what's my other piece? Yeah, I think will work. I'm going to do the other side of those. Okay, this one is going to go in here. Okay, this will go here. These two and this one are going to go in here. And again, if you don't want to mat the back sides of these, you don't have to. And I think we're going to put that. Okay, this one is going to go in here. Those will go on top. This one, what have I done here? There we go. Alright, so then this will be here, here, and then we'll use one of the sides of those other two there. And then I've got this piece that's going to go in here like so. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and glue all of those down, and we'll come back and we'll go through our scraps and we'll do this last page set. And we will do our matting in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our little months. Okay, so I'm going to do these just like I did them on the girls album. So this one I'm going to let hang off of this flap so it's centered on the page. Since it's Carta paper and it's heavier, I'm not worried about that getting banged up or whatever. On this one, I'm going to go down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to do glue along that bottom edge so that you can use it as a tuck spot, or that you could go ahead and make sure your picture fits down behind that. How did I do these? Okay, so these, I'm going to do this all the way over to the edge. So again, you could put, you know, a picture, smaller picture or two next to this one. I'm not going to close these because we're going to be going back and forth through these. So this one, I realize it's not quite the same spacing as I normally do here. So you could mat all the way across and then put this on top. Honestly, I'm fine with it that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that down on top of that pocket. Okay. And then we are going to go through and just keep doing the same. Oh my God, if I could like actually get glue on something the way I want it on there today, it would be a miracle. Okay. Over there. Okay. This one, I'm going to go to this side. this one I'm going to do down at the bottom again. All right, and then our last one, I'm going to go back over to this side. Okay, all right, so the first of the other matting that we're going to do is on either side of our belly band. So you've got a whole bunch of pieces that are your offcuts that are already your right height. Okay. So this is going to be, how wide is this? This is 4 3/8. So I am going to cut this in half at, okay, like so. And then we are literally just going to tuck underneath so that it's not going all the way across underneath the belly band, because it really doesn't need to. And two, you know, where the paper's already on the tight side, again, I apologize, you know, it doesn't need, you don't need to waste that going all the way underneath there. When that works just fine, and you're just going to be sticking, you know, pictures and photo mats and that kind of thing underneath it. Like so, okay? For the bottom of this, after we get the rest of this matted, we'll go back through scraps again and get the bottom part of these. So this, at this point, is 100% matted, so I'm going to go ahead and tie that one back closed. And this one, this is where we're going to use our other solids here in a minute. We're going to skip that. We're going to tie this one. There. Okay, so this one I need to trim down just a tiny bit. So this one should be 7 5/8. So if you've got one you want to use that is the smaller, like 4 1/8 inch scrap, it will still work. Okay. That one's done. Now, as far as embellishing, you do have 2 different packs of chipboards and an ephemera pack. That I'm going to leave up to you. You've got more than enough of that to do whatever you want for the most part. So, and you may not want to mat as much as like I would have wanted to mat. So, or not mat, decorate. You know what I'm trying to say. I swear to God, I'm not drunk. It's probably what I sound like. It's just been a very, very long day. And I would like to get this project finished up. So I'm pushing through. And I know better than to do that, but I'm doing it anyway because, you know, it needs to be done. So let's go ahead and cut these into 5x7s, like we've been doing 100 times already with this project. I will probably fast forward through this because at this point you've done this with me enough times. Hopefully you've mastered it at this point. Not that it matters, because I still, after having figured this out, learned this years ago, I still screw it up, like, routinely. Which is the other reason I don't mat on camera. So when I have boo-boos, nobody has to know. Because where I'm doing kits, I usually will have a little bit of extra paper that I can pull a spare sheet out and fix something, but not always. Okay. Now, occasionally, you'll see here, there's like a little nick into that. It's fine. I literally do it all the time. You don't ever end up noticing it on the finished project. And where the ones that go on those flaps are going to get cut down to 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, you just cut it on that side and then you're fine. Again, I've got just ever so slight cold, and I just feel like my nose is icky when it's really not, so I keep sniffling. So, too much information, I'm sure, and I apologize, but if you're going to have me mat on camera, this is what you're going to get. No, just kidding. I'm kidding, actually. So, before we do anything else with these, you want to grab your book, go to this page, and figure out what color 5x7 mat you want on this side. Okay? This one, I think I'm going to go with that light, so I'm just going to leave that tucked in there. This one, I want the darker. And this one, I think we'll do the lighter one, okay? So, those are all where they need to go. I'm going to come back, so I need 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have one of these that I'm not using. Just set it aside. You can just use it as a photo mat somewhere else. You know, tuck it in one of the pockets under a belly band, whatever. These I'm going to go ahead and trim down to the 4 7/8 by 5 7/8 quarter round and adhere on the backs of the flaps on this page style. Okay. Then we will come back. I'll show you how I was doing the matting, because you're going to piece, actually no, we'll do that one last. When I come back, we'll do this page design. Okay, so I'm just going to do one of this page group with you, simply because you're going through your scraps. You really can't screw this up at this point because you've got a decent pile of scraps. Okay, so for this piece right here, we need something that is 4 1/4 by 7 5/8. So I'm going to cut this one to 4 1/4. This one might not work. Maybe it will. We're going to make it work. And 7 5/8. And if it doesn't work, I will find something else, but I think it will be fine. No, that's going to be a little much. That's okay. We will find a different one. Let's see here. That one work? That one will work. Okay. So we're going to do it with this one instead. So 7 5/8, 4 1/4, because that's 4 3/8. Okay. So that there, and then you'll do the same thing for the back side. So as long as this one is okay. So that's front and back. For this section right here, this is 3 inches. So we're going to go ahead and continue with 3 inches and 4 1/2. So let's see here. There we go. 4 1/2 by 3. Okay, so that's going to go down on there. And Gus is going to sing us the song of his people. Because of course he is. Okay, so underneath here, this one should be 4 inches. So you can go ahead and do that the full 4 inches, which I am going to go ahead. My one that was slightly too small for the flap is what I'm going to put in here like so. This one's going to go here. This little strip, you can leave it or you can mat it. It is entirely up to you. I will come back and do that very last because that's literally a 1/2 inch. So, you know, you can mat it with whatever. Now, the flaps in here. I only matted the front. I did not mat the back, okay? So these are going to be 3 3/4 by 4 7/8. So what I have is, okay, so 3 7/8 high, 3 7/8 high, and I think it's 3 3/4. Hold on, let's double check. Nope, 3 1/2. Aha. 3 1/2 and 3 1/2. Okay. And then for the second one, you have got scraps like this. 4 7/8. 4 7/8. So, all right, that one's going to go on top, that one's going to go on the bottom, and then we're going to go, maybe we'll turn them over and do them that way. I don't know. Or I'll put them on the next layer down. We'll put the green on top and then that like so. Okay, so that's how that section's gonna go. So for now, I'm just going to tuck that in and come back and do that later. So for these, what I have got is I have gone ahead and I've adhered down my 5x7 mat. Okay, so you're going to measure. So this is 2 5/8. Okay, so I'm going to, you're going to have some pieces that are, you're going to want either non-directional or like your long skinny pieces. Okay, so we are going to go 7 5/8. And then I'm going to go to 2 5/8, and I'm going to back it up just to the next little tick mark. Okay. Like so, and then that will go there. This bottom section should be 3/4. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go just one back from that, and then I'm going to cut it to 5 inches. So it's the same width as my mat, but I'm going to flip it over to the other side. Okay, so depending on how you adhere those down, so like this one, I went to the bottom, so I would, you know, go around, and then this one I went to this outside edge, so it would be 2 strips on the top and bottom, and then the same one on the side. So that's about it with the matting. Now, journaling cards. So, a little tool. You have got leftovers of all shapes and sizes. So this one is, we're going to go 4 1/8 by 6 1/8. Okay. And all I'm going to do is lay this on top. I'm going to grab one of my black fine liner pens. So I'm using the 005. These are Ohuhu. I picked up a whole pack of them at Michael's. They've been really good so far. So I'm going to line this up at the bottom of my mat. It is clear, so if you want to, you know, so you can at least see where it is that you are, where you're lined up at. You know what I'm trying to say, I promise. Okay, just like that. And there is your journaling card. Okay, so if you've got a smaller one, so we've got a 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. Okay, so what I'm going to do is line this up, top corner, right edge. And you can either just watch and stop before you get to the edge. You can go edge to edge if you want to. Or if you have, well, I had like random score tape up here. Where'd it go? Okay, I'm not sure where it went, so I'm going to use my Post-it tape I use when I stamp. What you can do is kind of go, okay, get this the same distance over, and you might have to mess with it just a tiny bit to get it lined up where you want it. Okay, that's good. So then I'm going to line this up, and then I can go across and I'll hit up against that tape. So I should have the Same measurement, except where the bottom wasn't totally covered, but that's okay. And there you go. Okay. If you have, let's do one more. I'm trying to find a 3x4. So 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. Okay. So I am going to run this all the way to the edge, but I'm going to start further over. Okay. I'm going to go all the way to my edge. And then I can take one of my other little, like, list indicators, I guess, like so. And then I can see if I've got it lined up. Let's see here. Hold on. There we go. So because it's clear, I can see and there you go. So you would just put your cut apart on the other side and you've got your little journaling card. So I know with the matting, this ended up being a really long one and I apologize, but it's a big book. Y'all, it's a huge book. So, as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate anytime you watch, like, comment, share, etc. If you're not following me, please do, both here on YouTube and also Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things. I am also on Whatnot, where I de-stash stuff out of my craft room, and I do sales on there occasionally, not super often, although I've got a big one coming up that I've been putting off for like a month now. But I had kits I needed to get out, or get finished, so I needed to do that first. But as always, thank you for watching. If you have purchased this kit, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. If you're just, you know, following along with what you've got out of your stash, awesome, do that too. I'm still glad you're here. So, I'll see you again soon.